live and
How do you know when it's live?
it says you're live. Well, it'll go and then go to your live. So
Oh, okay.
they're having another thing on that?
I thought they've already done that
I
for,
know.
Taylor Road.
Yeah, they did. I guess maybe because they made a decision. I don't know.
I haven't either. Now everybody's going. Out here, Courtney. I hope that's not a fire truck. I love it when they send these checks and it just says Geary County. I'll go ask Jackie if it's her. Okay, you the last one.
Tammy's
Still gotta talk about the budget. Yeah. Can't wait.
What do you want now?
I'm on there. Mine's pretty easy.
I was gonna say, hers shouldn't take too long.
Is Tammy? Will Tammy do this?
Oh, I don't know for her. She probably will.
Okay.
Are we live yet?
Yeah, we are live.
Okay. So we're back from executive session, no action taken. We're waiting on Tammy.
No, Courtney's gonna just do her.
Right, I didn't know whether you needed
Oh,
Tammy.
Tammy has a copy.
She's, I was
Yeah,
gonna say,
she's helped me with this, so,
Okay, go ahead.
A copy of what?
The pen and CIP.
that she gave me to complete for the,
Oh,
An
I didn't
amended?
get it. Did you?
I didn't get it.
I didn't get anything.
it's own, I can pass it around.
No, I didn't get it for the packet.
Right.
Yeah.
Was it to show what you need to, put for the CIP?
That, what we need to amend it by, yes. I was at a clerk's conference last week, I popped in late Friday afternoon to give it to Tammy as she asked me to. So CIP amendment for our project for the clerk's office furniture update. When I worked with Public Works for my original request, we estimated $7,325.89. I worked with them on a quote, an estimate of what they thought the painting would cost, and I had put that in there. Well, when we received our invoice from the painters, it was $875 more than what we were anticipating. So the amendment amount would be, my new request would be $8,348.52.
When you brought in, did you have it broken out? Because I thought it was just furniture. I don't remember.
Well, because the removal of the cubicles, we did, on my original CIP, we did have to, what's it called? Fill holes. They were gonna have to sand.
Yeah,
It
I
was gonna have to
understand
be
that, but did you
repainted.
have it broken down on what?
She had
was
a
needed?
cost for painting because we got one from Frank.
I know, but I don't remember seeing it, is basically like what the estimate was on how much the furniture was gonna cost, the painting was gonna cost.
No, there wasn't a breakdown of cost. I just added it to the total project cost.
Because I was under the impression that was just for the furniture, and then the
Oh,
public
no.
works.
No, that was for all of it.
So how much for the painting then, if it
They
was?
charged us $1,875, and Frank had estimated around $1,000. So it was a bit more than what we were anticipating.
Did they paint the whole wall?
Not all of it, but from like the entry and around, because everywhere a cubicle was removed
Uh-huh.
and the old furniture was taken out, it had pretty significant holes
Sure,
and
no,
stuff.
and
that
I
needed to be
totally
patched.
get that, but man, $1,800.
No, I told Frank I felt like that was insanely expensive, so I don't know if they need to look at the vendor that they're using.
No, they come in on the weekend. and
They did it
on that one Saturday.
Well, I guess they did that time, and they had 3 guys.
Well, yeah, I would like when we do CIP, and not just you, but anybody, you know, to have it broken out, like, because I would have been questioning, why are we paying 18 or even $1,000 to do, basically, they just did touch up. I mean, because, you know what I mean, if they didn't do the whole entire office, because we just had the office painted. I mean, that
I don't
was,
disagree. I
that
mean, we
was
even
an
volunteered to
excessive-
paint it ourselves and
they said no.
Not me.
I mean, 'cause
You didn't want to do that, I wouldn't either. You wouldn't want me to paint. You'd
I
have to
know.
have it redone if I painted.
I paint all the time at home, so. Just as a reminder, Rebecca did have some dollars that were reserved previously, and that's the fund that we had originally requested it come out of, so there's still dollars in there. So this wouldn't really, come out
Well,
of,
still, when
what she's
paying
allocated.
$2,000 more for just touch up, I have an issue with, not as far as where it's coming from, just the fact that I feel like that was
trust me,
over.
my jaw dropped when I got it. so.
Yeah,
Well, to their defense, when they took those things off the wall, there was
huge holes.
probably 12.
oh, I believe that
Holes.
there was.
Did we find our cord?
Well, there was one sitting there, so I don't know if it was,
Yeah, I'm
okay.
sure it probably was.
It's longer than the one you had.
Yeah. I think we started with that short one and then they brought us another one. I think the statement needs to read to a specific area so that people, when they read this, aren't thinking that they should be expecting something that there was due to, and then they need to identify that area, don't you think, Teresa?
Taxing District 1.
Yeah, just that
Yeah, but
area.
they don't know, yeah, just say, yeah, something to that effect for sure. People aren't gonna know what
Right.
taxing District 1 is,
This
but just say it doesn't affect all taxpayers.
Right.
So, yeah, I agree with that.
Because if I lived in Milford or something and I got it and then
Yeah, well,
I'm not
yeah,
gonna be so apt to
yeah.
pick up the phone and say, what is this? Knowing
exactly,
that it had to deal with them and not me, and they'll just go, yeah, it wasn't me.
yeah, okay.
So where do you want to put that in?
Who made the statement?
Travis did.
Travis. Okay,
wrote
it up. Okay, I can go walk over there and tell Travis if you want me to.
I'm good with it, with that correction.
Okay.
Yeah, me too. Just put in there that it mostly affects people that live in a certain, or like District 1, or I don't know if they have a specific like neighborhood, I don't know.
Taxing Unit 1, which is the city of Junction City.
Oh, the whole entire city,
right.
okay.
Yep.
Just
So
the
yeah,
city,
then we
not
just,
the-
yeah. We need to add that on there. Or you guys be getting phone calls from everybody.
Yeah.
Already, Chair?
Yeah.
Finally,
Yes.
last but not least.
Oh, do I hear a motion to approve the statement to be sent out?
Oh, so moved with the addition of an area, the area.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Okay, sorry, Tammy.
No
All right.
worries. All right, Tammy Robinson, Finance Director again. This has to do with the 2026 budget and setting a baseline for how you want your budgets developed. So I gave you some examples for consideration and discussion. It's not all inclusive, and you can definitely pick something 100% completely different from anything that I have there. It was just more to give you some ideas of some of the things you could think about when you're determining how to set your baseline. When you're doing this, this helps the department heads accomplish the most efficient and time-effective management. For instance, if you gave them no guidance, you have no idea what they would come in here with and ask for in their presentations. And so if you set parameters, it should make it a lot easier for them when they're developing the budget. Considering the personnel budgets, I have told you already, we will have 27 pay periods in 2026. That impact will be about $500,000 in the general fund, and that includes both wages and benefits. We use the CPIU for the Midwest region. That's very important. We want the Midwest region because we want the area that is most similar to our region. It was at 2.7% in 2024, which is the most recent set since last year. So this is what we have to guide us with our 2026 inflationary status. It could be different as we move through 2025, but we try to take that annualized rate of the most complete year, and 2024 is that rate. We usually use this as a guideline in setting COLA. However, when we implemented our wage study, something we talked about was we did want to look at possibly providing that COLA annually. However, we do not have the capacity to follow the highs and the lows of what the CPI index does. So that is just an average. Some of our neighbors, they've given 8%, they've given 6%, that followed the COLA very closely the last couple of years, and we just can't do that. However, if we can ride that middle point between 1% and 2%, it can keep us healthy in the competitive region. And it also will kind of keep us from having real high highs and real low lows. So this is to try to maintain more of a consistency, which also assists in setting our budgets. The average for 2015 to 2024 is 2.6%. What I would be requesting as a consideration from the commission is to allow us to formulate the personnel based on a 1% COLA increase. Also realizing that the steps between each are approximately 3%. So this would be a total estimated 4% increase for each eligible employee based on performance evaluations and time employed. And when I say time employed, that means that if they would start after July this year, they would only be eligible for COLA and not a step. I also want to reiterate this because this is really important, because we had an issue the very first year we dealt with this, is that this is not guaranteeing that you're going to set wage increases at 4%. It's how we're formulating the budget. It's an estimate and it's a proposal. That still gives the commission ultimate authority in determining whether they go forward with this, whether they make cuts, whether they make adjustments. So it's very important for the department heads to remember to not tell their people that they approved it today in this meeting, because all it is a proposal to formulate the budget. It is not an overall approval. Are there any questions or anything that I can assist you with in making this decision?
Well, I think, the next few budgets are going to be challenging. Well, 1, because we have that extra pay period, 2, because of the troops leaving, and 3, because we're going to have to figure out how we're going to pay for the jail, whether it be a new jail or the recommended repairs of the old jail.
Well, and I would add one more thing to that is CIP. In order to keep our CIP healthy, and based on the requests that are even in there for the next 5 years, 500,000 would not be enough for us to increase our transfers each year.
Yeah.
So
you're gonna have to look at an additional amount being transferred from the general fund to CIP, which is the taxpayer dollars.
I agree. And, you know, we've worked very hard to get that, pay scale implemented and, take care of the compression where there were so many people some people were getting paid this, other people, depending on, you know, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. It should be all, you know, we cover our employees, fairly and equitably. And so, I definitely want to try to, continue on that pay scale. I do understand why we have to go to the 1% COLA, possibly even that. But that I feel is a priority. You know, and I would ask that all budgets right now, especially because we don't know how long the troops are gonna be gone, if this is gonna affect us for that whole time. You know, because sales tax is gonna be huge.
Is the time frame October of 26 through March of 27? Is that right?
Possibly, yes, that's what tentatively, but with, you know, the things going on in the world, it could happen next month, you know what I mean? So you never know. So, I mean, I think in 2026, we need to be prepared, conservatively, but yeah, I think, you know, we might look at, you know, no essential purchases. I think, you know, and just having critical, I mean, this is the time that we need to look at our needs versus our wants.
Well, those surveys, which they've just got a few more because I asked Courtney if Tom and Amy, so they're finishing some of those up. So they should be done this week. So I think that can give us a tool. I mean, they had some good suggestions on some of that, you know, where they would like holding the line and reduced and everything else. And I think that was what we wanted to see. So, you know, that'll give us some ideas as well. But, you know, even with our sales tax numbers and that one report that we had, you know, when it showed, you know, I think it had in the 90s, 97, 98, and actually it should include, it had it from 90, whatever, in that report that I did for sales tax.
Oh, yeah, I'd
So
like to
Sherry
find
kinda-
that.
Sherry should have that, you know, it's
I'm
clear
sure she does.
clear from, I don't know if she's updated since I was gone, but it should be relatively easy. She could update it with her numbers, but that was kind of just giving me a general idea of the impact sales tax had, you know, back during that time frame. So.
And I did go back and get the numbers from the state to make sure all of it, so I do have the history of it, of when we changed our percentage for the hospital bond,
Yeah.
and so I might have something that's very.
Yeah.
It's
I
not
think
by
I
month,
changed-
but
yeah,
it's
on
by
that.
year.
That was kind of in there too, because it kind of, yeah, it didn't show when that occurred and stuff, but anyway, yeah, it's gonna have a huge impact on us, so I guess we need to be ready for that.
One more thing I do want to make sure and clarify, and this is largely due to Public Works and the Sheriff's Office. If you recall, in the 2025 budget, we did freeze positions, and we have not had the studies done at this point that, you know, we anticipate or are planning on still doing. So I would request that you clarify if you expect them to keep those positions frozen. I don't think there's any issues with either department head. I just want for their, you know, so they know how to handle it, whether they need to leave them out or if they have the.
On this operational audit that we had talked about doing or was brought up, is that gonna happen? Or I would like to know, you know, back in the years that, you know, the jail was full and we were getting funds from outside agencies, how much staff they had at that time and how much staff we have at this time, and, you know, the capacity of our jail during those time frames.
Yeah, that will be with this operation. They'll go
Okay,
back
so
to
that's-
the
okay, yeah,
historical
yeah.
and they'll
But we
also
wanted,
project out.
I presented and we voted on it to do it on other departments too.
Okay, yeah.
And because, especially because, there's other stuff they look at, like, leasing versus buying or renting like a particular, equipment that we only use 1 or 2 times a year, instead of us buying it, insuring it, is it cheaper? Those are the kinds of things I'd like to look at, and just see, because we've never, we just go by, oh, okay, we need more personnel. Well, do we really need more personnel? And then at the sheriff's department, that, in the, is there things that a sworn officer is doing that a civilian could do cheaper? Those are things they look at too.
I just note back, that used to be, a good money's coming in and, why they don't do it anymore is because they don't have the personnel, but on the other hand,
But we've been budgeting for the personnel.
yeah, so,
The
yeah,
same
yeah, so,
thing.
yeah. So, yeah.
Which is why it was easy for us to freeze some of those, because some of those that we froze from the sheriff's department had been filled for years.
So that is one thing I would ask when you set this baseline, is to determine what your expectations are for those frozen positions as well.
So basically what she needs from us today is to go through these suggestions, any other suggestions that we have, and see what we want to give for guidance on our, to our department heads when they start working on their budgets.
So does that mean, taking this information that she presented and
No,
are
those
we gonna have just thought, but are we gonna get together to talk about the things, the expectations that she's requested?
Oh, I was hoping you would set it today because I'm starting,
Alrighty,
I am
okay.
starting the
Okay,
stuff
okay.
now and
Yeah.
it's gonna start.
And it's not set in stone. We can always change it. It's fluid, so.
Right. Any decision you make today does not
Set in stone.
hold you
Yeah.
to it. You can make adjustments up till the very end before you sign that document, so.
Well, I'd like to see us do, try to keep our budgets flat if
I was
possible.
gonna say that.
And then, anything, the needs versus wants. Is it something we want or is it something we absolutely need? And then I don't think there's anybody that's gonna ask for any extra personnel except for maybe GIS for an admin person. I don't know.
I would guess a conversation I just had with fire and EMS last week that they're probably gonna ask for another person as well.
They need an operational.
That part-time position,
Oh, you mean, county fire?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
And then I think you're going to see some departments come in here and try to adjust wages in their departments.
That's something and that was the one thing I did want to bring up. I know there's been certain people coming in asking because other people, have completed different things. I don't think we should do it for 1 or 2 people. If we're gonna do it, it's gonna have to be throughout the whole entire county.
Well, just keep in mind, and Crystal's not in here, she should probably be in here. Hopefully she'll hear me and come over here. But when you're looking at that, there are going to be times when it's warranted. So if someone's job duties completely change,
Sure.
or someone's promoted to a whole new position,
right.
those are times that those adjustments are warranted. Now,
Your
unless they're
shells.
an elected official, they can't just promote them without coming to you anyway.
I was told I might be needed. Yeah.
So we were just talking about changing wages or not changing wages, and I said there's times when it is warranted if a position is completely changed or somebody's promoted, but that would still be subject to your approval.
But not
They
just
can't
because of the
promote them.
class that they finish.
Correct.
Because I don't feel that we should do that just on a case-by-case basis if it's just for that. If we're gonna have to restructure a whole and have another wage study, which would include those kind of things taking into consideration, yes, but yeah, it's I think we need to talk about that. Maybe not today, but definitely what our parameters are to approach that.
Well, and if anybody, so my recommendation to the commission would be that if anybody has that intent that comes to you as a separate request, a
Okay.
separate budget request, not as part of their regular budget request.
Okay, yeah, that sounds fair.
Same with any new positions or any changes in positions, or you all should have the ability to say yes or no separately.
I did reach out to TAG for a little bit on their advice on that, if somebody were to take the class or go to certification. And one of his recommendations was if there's a certification that's not required, but it is improvement and something good for the county, that instead of doing a flat pay increase, maybe do a stipend that is dependent upon them maintaining that certification. So that way, if they
Yeah,
lose
we
the
consider it.
certification, we don't have to go back and go, okay, well, we gave you a step, so we'll take away a step or whatever. You just stop the stipend if they lose the certification. But that, again, was just something for us to consider. He didn't provide an actual amount. That's something we could address.
And I would just like to say, I think there are a whole lot of rock stars at
There are.
Geary County.
Mhm.
And so, to pick and choose which ones get to be rock star status and which ones don't, that's where, when you guys say you're going to look at it all as a whole or not, I think that's a very good decision on your part, because for every one you can name, I could name 10 more.
Exactly.
And we don't want to go back to the whichever.
Well, and that's
supervisor
exactly what I'm
department head.
trying to prevent is, and I admire every department head that came in to advocate for their employees, but some people advocate a little more effectively
Mhm.
than others, even though those employees did deserve the recognition as well.
Yeah.
And so.
So we're just more persuasive naturally than others, and
Just
it's
be-
not
yes.
a good idea to penalize the other
Squeaky wheel
employees
gets
because their
grease.
department head's not as loquacious as others.
Yes.
Is that it?
I don't know, you might
Well,
have a
that's
seat in
it.
case they haven't said it yet, so.
Remind me to ask, are we having a task force meeting this week?
Yes, on Wednesday.
Okay. And
Stay
it's
on
my turn.
task, Commissioner Giordano.
I know, I'm sorry, I just meant to ask. Well, you weren't here earlier and I.
Sorry, I was late for a doctor's appointment.
All right, I'm on
So
task.
so we take turns, I don't necessarily have to go?
No.
No.
Yeah, we take
Commissioner-
turns.
Commissioner Swallow.
Okay.
It's my turn.
Okay.
And thank you for remembering that, I would have forgotten.
Okay. I'll mark that.
Well, Keith, you haven't said anything?
I'm okay with the bottom,
The what?
the COLA, that part. I'm still looking through the upper part. Or not looking, I've been looking.
Well, I
I
agree
like
with you.
all of them about that, that should be something they do.
Well, I just think we're gonna have to be a little more, I don't wanna say stringent, strict, conservative this year as compared to the last couple of years that we've had and.
I believe you are going to have to either be very frugal in what you
Yes.
set, or you're going to have to be willing to increase that levy, because with all the things that we know, we talked about CIP, the extra pay period, those are all going to be additional tax dollars that we haven't been seeing up to this point, so
Well, I
that's the
think
decisions.
our
And
department
even
heads-
outside entities, when you set that,
For
this
the
is part of what you
appropriations.
need to set for me,
Yeah.
because this is what we send to them.
Mhm.
If you say nothing except flat, then they can't request anything other than what they requested this year. Or I guess they could, but flat means flat. And we do send that out to them.
Yeah, would you add in there, especially to the appropriations, on the fact that we're gonna have, we're not expected to get our sales tax. And people need to understand, well, what we don't have in sales tax that we depend on the property tax for that.
So it says all budgets are requested to be flat, and right below it are requested to be reduced. I mean, you can't have both.
No,
Those are
These
just
are all just things that you can
suggestions on-
decide.
Yeah.
It's not about you picking all of them. It's, is there any on here that you definitely want them to live by in setting their
She was
budget?
just making suggestions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and then I do think we need to add that if we, like those, unless they can come in and say they absolutely need one of those frozen positions, so their clarity, I'd like to add that. don't know what you guys think about that, because both the sheriff's department and Public Works have frozen, positions.
Well, I've spoke with both and both of them were
We're good
with
with-
the intent that they were not going to
Okay.
add them in there. But if you had that mindset differently, I wanted to make sure I relayed that to them.
Okay, no, I think that's good. I mean, unless they can come in and justify why they
Right.
would need something unfrozen, but I don't think that I didn't know about the Public Works, but I think the sheriff's department was saying that they were good with their staffing levels.
And I just met with Jeremy on Friday, so.
Well, I think we need to focus on our core services, our departments. You know, the appropriations part, that's different. So I think we need to scrutinize some of them outside agencies more than we have in the past.
And like I said, when we send this out, if you have specific parameters for them, we'll send that. You just need to let me know and we'll put it in the email so that they, they aren't putting in extra time when you're not going to allow any increases.
I think we should explain the next 2 years or possibly 3 years because of this, the troops and us trying to figure out what we're doing with the jail. Those appropriations need to buckle down.
I agree. I think that, people don't want their taxes to be raised. And with, they clearly, even in the survey information that I've been gathering, the fact of the matter is, if you want to lower taxes and not raise taxes at all, then you're gonna have to start, and I agree with Keith, and I've said that all along, that as much as I support and think these other agencies are wonderful and doing wonderful things in their community, and, I belong to some of them and fully support them. The fact of the matter is, if you want to cut or reduce, that's where we're gonna have to start looking at, because county needs to start functioning and doing the things for county, taking care of these roads. That's a big thing. And we need to start looking at those core services and providing those, and we might have to reduce or those agencies that, unfortunately, that, you hate to do, but that's the reality of it. What, Teresa?
We were just joking about them making popcorn back there.
I'm not talking about
Oh, I'm sorry,
Sorry.
I did something wrong again. But,
So do you want to get her to say to keep them flat or reduce them?
And I haven't made a motion yet on that.
I know. They'll say, put it on the agenda next week.
Well, I'd say, keep them flat unless they can show that there's an immediate need.
I would agree with that.
Just because there might be something come up we don't know about.
Right.
And that, like you said, under the circumstances, getting into the later part of the year and going into that, we were dire straits there for a while. I don't know if Riley County was, but there in 2008 and 7 and 8, that was tough.
Well, one more thing I would just like to point out, and Crystal and I have been working on this after meeting with Bucati, and our intention is to not have the county absorb any of the cost increases to health insurance this year. So since I've come in 22, the county has absorbed it every year, and the people have not had hardly any increases at all. Now, our numbers look really good, and we may not have much of an increase anyway, but that would also be one place where we could shave off just a little bit of our costs in 2026.
But our benefits are still extremely comparable to others and on the very good side as we go with costs. So I
Are
think
the
it's,
employees now paying, did they just break even, or are they paying more now for their health insurance
then when?
than last year? The last 2
There was
years?
no increase for employees, I think pretty much for the last 2 years. Some of the plans were changed a little bit this year. So there was a slight increase, but I don't even think it was a full percentage of the entire cost.
Heard from some that have, said, well, that whatever they got, they didn't, they're still either the same or down after they paid their insurance and stuff, so.
And we did listen, and they wanted a $500 deductible again, so we went out with Katie, found us a good program with Blue Cross Blue Shield. So instead of having a 1,500, or of the 1,000, 1,500, and 3,000, we now have of the PPOs a $500 and a $1,500 plan. So we were able to get them that, which is actually costs less for them as well, with a $1,500. That the $500 deductible costs them a little bit more, but that's their choice. They don't have to take that. But a lot of people chose that one simply because they like that low deductible.
Yeah.
So, but they've got options. They're all affordable and very, very competitive with
And our
other.
out of pocket is cheaper than it was when they were self-insured. By like $2,000.
Yeah, I think our employee-only policy pays 90-some%.
Yeah,
The county pays, and the other policies are like 85 to 88% of the county's paying. So it's still a very strong benefit, even if they would capture any increase this year.
I think the biggest shock I've had from employees when they talk about the cost of insurance and they're like, oh, this much, what does ER med on my paycheck mean? And I'll say, well, that's what the employer of Geary County is paying for your health insurance. And the last comment I had was, I'm never complaining about how much I have to pay for it again when they saw how much we pay for it. So I think that
I think
actually helps
employees
them.
need to know that just because they make a specific amount of money, it costs the county a lot more to employ them because of the benefits that we
Teresa,
provide.
how long ago was that where the employees were given that, all their benefits, what that equated out to? And then, I know
Benefit wage
that-
statement.
No, there was something that Wade did.
That's what it's called, is a benefit wage statement, when it breaks it all down. And says,
Yeah, like
this
over
is your
here it
hourly
says
rate, this is
The
what the.
county pays for capers, so much capers, this is the percentage, county pays for so much health, dental, blah, blah, whatever.
And they're given
Just
that
have it
now.
broken.
So if they can
That's what
access
it's
on
called.
Employee Navigator. But if you think it's something that I should send out to them, that's perfectly fine, but Employee Navigator
That
has
might be
that.
a good idea. I just remember
Maybe
when
just
they,
a
people
reminder.
started getting that, they
Some
said
people
just what
forget.
you were saying, they didn't realize at the time.
Yeah, people
The
don't.
benefit that, if you put it all down on to that, I just,
So on average, if you take 42% of their wages, that's about what the benefits cost. And that's an average because some people who are on employee is less, some people who are on family plan is more. So on average, 42% is what you could take. And that includes work comp, health insurance, dental, vision, Social Security and Medicare, capers, and the EAP program, and unemployment.
So, moving along, what's the wishes of the commission to, which ones, in the background anyway, which ones do you want to include?
Well, the one talking about the aware of the current economic condition and tax sentiment of the public. And I think we're requesting maybe flat, essential person purchases, and then anything that is need to be purchased, they need to show that it's critical, essential, or emergency.
And then you want, if there are any changes, new adjustments, those are all things presented as a separate.
Separate, yeah, I think that would make it easier.
You okay with that? Yeah.
Yes. And then you're all good with the formulating the personnel budgets with a 1% COLA and a 3% steps?
yes.
For now.
Formulating the budgets.
Well, and they need to understand that the more they help us out on the top part, the better we'll be able to provide for our employees on the bottom part.
And then on the appropriations, you want me to let them know that it needs to be flat and that we're looking at a sales tax shortage.
For the next couple of years.
No.
And you can explain to them that we have an extra pay period due to the calendar, and that's almost 2 mills right there.
Thank goodness it only occurs about once a decade, about.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So,
So if I'm correct, I've got five of these that we wanna,
and you got any extras you guys?
no,
wanna
I
put in?
don't.
So
I
the
think
first one, all budgets are to be flat, non-essential purchases, critical, essential, and emergency, and new and/or any personnel requests need to be presented separately.
And then I'd like for you to look through that. I do remember that you did, when we were doing the hospital bond, you did have the history of our,
Sales
of
tax,
sales tax and just see that, and so we can see. I mean, I know things cost more now and I think there were, I mean, I remember it was pretty bare back then when they were gone, but, you know, just to see what the impact was.
go with Sherry on that and see if she has any reports and we can make
So
sure.
rather than make a motion, we have a consensus on,
Yeah, I think just a consensus until we get it done, and then I'd like to see the, letter once we send it out, like before we send it out.
Yeah, our plan is to send out the outside agencies on the 21st. And our intent is to get the personnel budgets out on the 17th. And so once they have the personnel budgets, those will be what we've already put together based on what you decided today. We'll review it with them, and then I think it's in early May that we send out the full budget, which includes everything, which will have that memo that you're talking about, so I can bring that back.
Yeah, this is awesome. I thought that was just something that you were kind of going to do, but I thought, yeah, that was great. Pretty good.
Good, I'm glad it's a good tool.
And I think it helps it helps everybody when they're adjusting their budgets for the year. And I mean, we have been pretty lenient with them the last couple of years. I mean, I think everybody's pretty much gotten almost everything that they wanted. And a 5% raise with the 2% with the COLA, so.
I know, staff just generally gets upset when you tell them to flat or reduce it, but then yet you continually give to other places.
Agencies.
Yes, and so my focus is gonna be taking care of this, and then if there's money, then we can look at the other and as much as I think they're great, whatever, however, that's the reality of.
Easier
Our
said than
clients.
done, Kathy, you'll see.
yeah.
Well, but the thing is
Because we do have a lot of good things that
You do,
Yeah.
but the thing is if you cut ours, you have to cut services, and, if we're not wanting to cut any of our services, the outside agencies.
That's,
Right.
yeah, that's,
Right.
yeah.
Like said, has to be your first look.
Right.
May not be your last look, but it probably should.
And I
be
do
your
think
first.
taking care of our employees, as long as we're when the department heads being efficient and responsible in their things, will be able to help us. But our employees are because they're the ones that provide the services. We need to take care of them.
They're the backbone of the county.
All right, thank you, commissioners.
Alright. Courtney resent,
Yeah,
the thing, so if you guys want
what
to.
did you guys?
Pertaining to what we talked about?
Yeah,
Courtney,
Oh, wow.
she must have been listening.
Courtney sent, Travis is gone for the day, so she changed, put it in, so she wanted to know, is that okay?
I think it's fine.
They were
She
just
changed
talking
the
about
new
how
one?
you
You read
changed
the
it.
new one she just sent? Oh, okay.
She just changed like in the top part,
Right.
and added.
And then Sherry gave me a date at the bottom
For May 1st. What'd you say?
Sherry is the one that gave me the date at the bottom,
Oh, okay.
where it was red.
Yeah.
Okay. I like it.
Where do
I don't
you,
even think you have to put tax unit one, I would just put the, those.
well, they look at a levy sheet, which is out there.
Who's gonna look at the levy sheet?
I know, I probably
look
can't
at
even find my levy
Read
sheet.
They're online.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, now
They can-
Courtney wants to know where you want this to go.
Distributed.
I would send it to the paper and JC Post,
Mhm.
and then have,
Publish it in the paper or
just
give
see
it
if
to
they'll,
him.
just see if they can put it on their
Website.
website. And then see if he'll, I mean, yeah, he can put it in there. I mean, I think because some people don't have access to,
if we publish it, we do have to pay That's why I didn't know.
Yeah, but I don't,
What
would
you
it
want
be
me
a
to do.
lot?
I think it'd probably be
It-
better just
It
as
won't be a
a,
lot.
I think we should publish it just because there's a lot of people that don't have access to
Probably like
that. And then
$100
put
or
it, have, we can put it on our Facebook
Right.
page and the website.
I can send it for publication, which I do all of our other.
Okay.
do you want it on our website?
Crystal can put it on
When you
Facebook.
publish, I mean, you just, if
I can do the
he's
Facebook.
coming to write a
You
story
can do
on,
Facebook.
on the clerk's office, then you have to pay to do that? My
They don't ever
publication
come
pays.
to register.
If I do a legal publication, yeah, I pay
I
for it.
will, why, you can't just,
Just say, hey, they made a mistake in, for this last time and we didn't, and we
Yeah.
accepted it. Just say, hey, there was a miscalculation. Could you just please put this in your information for people so they're not.
Cause I don't think it
concerned?"
should be illegal.
Right.
yeah, not illegal, yeah, that's right.
Oh, you meant just a normal.
Right.
Just
Yeah.
ask them,
A
say, hey,
normal public, like a normal
Yes.
publishing.
Yeah,
Yes.
like if he was sitting in here listening.
Like a-
to
yeah.
what you were saying.
Yeah.
He'd write up.
like a
an
press release.
Right.
Just put it as
Yes,
a press
yeah.
release.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah.
article. Heaven forbid, that's what we used
Yeah.
to call the press release, here's these back.
Oh, yes.
I'm doing my great for a banana, because these are hard.
Bananas.
Okay,
Are we done?
Trish, you said you were putting it on
If you
Facebook, so I
guys
don't need to
are,
send
I'm
it to
done.
her.
Yeah, as long as we're doing the second one you sent, right? Okay, I'll do it.
Okay.
okay.
So we're adjourned at
We're
3:00.
adjourned.
Oh my
3
goodness.
o'clock.
It was a long one.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
my boss, she's probably.
Bye, Betsy.
Bye.
Hi, Betsy.
Betsy.
Bye.
Oh.
She probably has